All right, this is the additional practice section. If you feel good about the notes and you don't feel like doing this anymore, then don't. You don't have to do this here, just work on the assignment. If you're struggling a little bit here and you're not fully understanding, these are just some extra practice for you to try to do before you try to do your work. This one pertains to example H10-4, example 4. Okay, so it says write the sum equation and simplify as much as possible. So if you want to pause the video and try to do it, that's totally fine. If you're lost and you don't know how to even start, then maybe you will follow through with me on this first one and then pause it and try to do the second one. Okay, so here we go. For letter A, we have the series 0 plus 6 plus 12 plus 18, and then it goes all the way up to 6n minus 6. Okay, remember that expression right here is like when you do your a sub n, it would equal 6n minus 6, right? I could say this is my first term, second term, third term, fourth term. I can take these and I can plug them in, right? If I plug in 1 in for n, my first term should end up being 0. So if I do 6 times 1 minus 6, you see I do get 0 there. If I plug in 2, I'll get 6 out, and so on there. So this is for our nth term here. So if I want to come up with my equation, I have the sum of the first n number of terms. This is in general form, remember. We're going to do our first term plus our nth term times half the number of terms. And then whatever we get here, we'll take it, we'll simplify it down. So let's do what we can. We'll substitute in what we know. So the sum of the first n number of terms is going to equal our first term we said was 0. Plus our nth term is this expression, 6n minus 6. Okay, so it's all of that. And then we are multiplying by n divided by 2, because we don't know how many terms there are. We'll simplify our expression here, the 0 plus 6n minus 6 first. That gives us 6n minus 6. And we will take that and we'll multiply it by n divided by 2. So when we distribute this through, right, we've got 6n squared divided by 2 minus 6n divided by 2, which should give us 3n squared minus 3n. And that is our sum the equation of our sum equation here. This is the expression in general terms. If you want to check it, choose so many terms. I'm going to choose 3 terms here. The first 3 terms, the sum of 0 plus 6 plus 12 is 18. I already know what the answer is. So we can check to see if we are correct by plugging in 3 for n. Right? So when I take this here and I do 3 times 3 squared minus 3 times 3, this should give me 18. Let's see. 3 squared is 9, times 3 is 27, minus 9 is 18. So I've just checked my answer and I know that I am correct. This is the correct answer. All right, so if you're wanting to try number 2 on your own, go ahead and do that first. I'm going to work through it now. Here we go for part B. So same thing here, first term, second term, third term. This is the nth term. So when we take this here and I want to do my sum equation, right, I'm doing my s sub n is going to equal my first term plus my nth term times half the number of terms. Okay, the more you write these equations down, the easier it is going to be for you to remember them there. So that's why I would do it. We don't know how many terms there are, so we're going to leave it here in general terms of s sub n is going to equal our first term, negative 1. Then we've got plus our last term, which is negative 2n plus 1. And in this case, those parentheses kind of, mean something there. Just make sure you don't think of it as, subtraction, the whole thing, right? We're adding a negative 2n and we're adding the 1 here. So as you're going through and simplifying this down, right, when we simplify this part, negative 1 plus negative 2n plus 1, our negative 1 and our positive 1 are going to cancel out, leaving us with just that negative 2n times the quantity of n divided by 2. We multiply those together, we get negative 2n squared divided by 2, and that simplifies to give us a negative n squared. So the sum of our first n number of terms is going to equal negative n squared. That's interesting, right? That's kind of a different looking answer, but let's check it. Let's do, just like we did on the last one, let's take the sum of the first three terms. If I add negative 1 plus negative 3 plus negative 5, I know my answer is already negative 9. So let's see here. If I take this and do the sum of the first three terms, I'm going to have the opposite of 3 squared. Remember, this negative is done after you square. So 3 squared is 9, right? And then you're taking the opposite of that, and you get negative 9. So the sum of the first three terms is negative 9. We know we're correct. So this is the answer. If you need additional help or have other questions, please make sure you reach out to your teacher. Thanks for watching.